Nearly 8 kilometers beneath the surface of the Atlantic Ocean lies one of the most mysterious and potentially dangerous places on Earth, the Puerto Rico Trench. Stretching over 800 kilometers long and plunging to depths of more than 8,300 meters, this deep-sea chasm isn't just the Atlantic's lowest point, it's a geological ticking time bomb. For years, it remained in the shadows, less studied, less feared than its infamous cousin, the Mariana Trench. But the Puerto Rico Trench is no passive abyss. It sits along a complex subduction zone where the North American plate grinds beneath the Caribbean plate. This interaction is violent, unpredictable, and capable of releasing catastrophic energy. In 2023, a joint study by the U.S. Geological Survey and the University of Puerto Rico examined core samples pulled from a remote mangrove pond near East Bajura. At first, the sediment seemed ordinary, but deep within the layers, researchers found a surprise: a half-meter thick sand deposit, sharp-edged, coarse, and chaotic. A closer analysis revealed telltale signs of a high-energy event: a sharply eroded base, graded bedding, and a mixture of marine microfossils with land-derived debris. This wasn't left behind by a hurricane or storm. This was a tsunami deposit. Radiocarbon dating placed the event between 1470 and 1530 CC. It was the fingerprint of a megathrust earthquake, likely magnitude 8.0 or higher, that had triggered a massive tsunami. But this wasn't an isolated incident. Nearly 400 kilometers away in the British Virgin Islands and on Angada, scientists uncovered similar deposits. There, boulders of coral and shell fragments lie strewn over a kilometer inland, far beyond what storm surge or wind could carry. Modeling these events suggests a rupture 300 to 400 kilometers long, an earthquake potentially reaching magnitude 9.0. To put that in perspective, that's the same power that unleashed the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami, which killed over 230,000 people. But the Puerto Rico Trench isn't just a relic of past disasters, it's still active. Multi-beam sonar imaging has revealed retrogressive slope failures, underwater landslides, as wide as 7 kilometers. These slides occur where steep underwater cliffs lose their grip, collapsing under gravity. Some are slow, some sudden, and all of them have the potential to displace vast volumes of water, generating tsunamis even without a quake. In 2003, NOAA Ocean Explorer Expedition mapped a chain of underwater scarps and fissures along the carbonate platform north. These weren't ancient, they were recent and raw evidence of ongoing geological activity beneath the waves. The seafloor here is alive, shifting constantly under tectonic pressure. To understand just how often these disasters strike, paleoseismologists turn to advanced tools: CT scans, X-ray fluorescence, and microfossil analysis. They dug through layers of coastal sediment like archaeologists, uncovering multiple sand layers, each representing a tsunami over the centuries. Their distinctive mineral profiles and erosional patterns rule out storm origins. These aren't random events. They form a chilling timeline of destruction. Yet perhaps the most terrifying question is the one scientists can't answer. When will it happen again? Earthquake simulations indicate that a rupture along the trench could send waves racing across the Atlantic Ocean. Florida, the Gulf Coast, even parts of Western Europe could see the aftermath of a disaster born thousands of kilometers away. Tsunamis don't respect borders, and unlike hurricanes, they don't give days of warning. Despite the risk, there is no comprehensive early warning system for the Puerto Rico Trench. No dedicated sirens. No mass notification infrastructure. Just millions of people, locals and tourists alike, living or vacationing in vulnerable coastal zones, unaware that a natural time bomb lies offshore. What makes the trench even more unpredictable is its hybrid nature. Unlike many in a matter of seconds, the sea can rise by meters without a quake, without warning. These slope failures are so important that scientists now consider them part of the region's overall tsunami threat. In fact, a major slide could create a local tsunami capable of devastating Puerto Rico's northern coast, even if no seismic shaking is felt inland. Adding to the complexity, the shape of the trench itself plays a role. It's not a straight scar across the ocean floor. It's sharply curved, forcing the downgoing plate to bend, buckle, and contort around the corner of the Caribbean. This bending causes further instability, increasing the chance of fractures and slope collapses. The result is a tectonic system with no single fault, no single danger. It's a tangled web of stress and instability, subduction mixed with transform motion, overlaid with landslide hazards and slab tier dynamics, and perhaps most chilling of all, we've only just begun to understand it. Much of what we know comes from sonar mapping and temporary seismic stations. But large parts of the trench remain unexplored. We don't yet know the full length of its active faults. We don't know how often they rupture. We don't know how close we are to the next event. What we do know is this: the Puerto Rico Trench is a tectonic time bomb, primed not just for earthquakes but for a cascade of disasters. A massive rupture here could trigger an underwater landslide. That landslide could cause a tsunami. That tsunami could cross an ocean. And all of it could happen in minutes. In this web of underwater pressure and plate collision, one thing is certain: the ground beneath Puerto Rico and much of the Caribbean isn't as stable as it seems. While the Puerto Rico Trench threatens with earthquakes and tsunamis, it also hides something far stranger: life. Not just any life, but creatures adapted to survive in one of the most extreme environments on the planet, the Haddle Zone. At depths beyond 7,000 meters, light cannot penetrate. Temperatures hover near freezing. Pressure exceeds 700 times what we experience at sea level. It's a place so hostile scientists once believed it was nearly barren. But they were wrong. In 1964, biologist Piers documented what he believed were swarms of snailfish along a deep transect at around 7,300 meters. He estimated around 200 individuals along a 1-mile stretch, and unexpectedly high density for such depths. But no physical specimens were retrieved, and for decades it was assumed that Liparidae, snailfish, were the trench's dominant life form. Then in 2019, a submersible called the DSV Limiting Factor, piloted by deep-sea explorer Victor Vescovo, returned to the same area. What the onboard cameras revealed changed everything. There were no snailfish. Instead, the team recorded dozens, even hundreds, of strange ribbon-like organisms gliding just above the seafloor. These weren't fish. They were sea cucumbers, members of the genus Peniagon, and they were everywhere. These elasopodid holothurians are deep-sea deposit feeders. With their undulating fins and translucent bodies, they look more like floating leaves than animals. But their presence in such massive numbers stunned researchers. In some areas, they reach densities of several hundred per 100 square meters, making them the dominant megafauna of the trench. Their camouflage is nearly perfect. Gelatinous bodies that mimic the mud they live in, coupled with rhythmic, almost hypnotic movement. But these aren't mindless drift. They're ecosystem engineers, using their tentacles and tube feet to sift through sediment, feeding on marine snow and decaying matter that drifts down from above. And Peniagon isn't alone. Further analysis of archival footage revealed at least 3 more morphotypes. One, a Synallactidae species possibly from the Pseudoscopus or Mesothuria genus, was spotted 25 times, each about 10 to 12 centimeters long. Another, a flatter, ribbon-shaped holothurian, was seen only a handful of times. Then there were 2 large cylindrical specimens, gray and ghost-like, each 30 centimeters long, trailing deep furrows through the mud. These are believed to belong to the Myriotrochus genus. No specimens from the trench floor have yet been recovered and preserved. Every identification is based on video and morphology, making this an open chapter in marine biology. But the implications are profound. These creatures aren't just surviving at extreme depths, they're thriving. In total darkness, under crushing pressure, with barely any food, their presence also suggests a surprising level of biodiversity and benthic biomass for an environment that was once thought of as empty. And sea cucumbers aren't the only unexpected inhabitants. Recent RAVI expeditions have captured footage of amphipods, tiny shrimp-like scavengers from the Lycaenacidae family, feasting on decomposing organic matter, including sunken squid and fish carcasses. In one study, scientists deployed baited traps at nearly 8,000 meters. They retrieved multiple amphipods, alive and wriggling despite the cold and pressure. These creatures are the cleanup crew of the Haddle Zone. Their job? To recycle whatever falls from the upper ocean, breaking it down and returning nutrients to the sediment. In a world without sunlight, they are a key link in the food chain. Their adaptations are astonishing. Amphipods here possess specialized enzymes and unique lipids in their cell membranes that allow them to function at high pressure and low temperatures. Some species even produce aluminum hydroxide gel, possibly as a shield against the toxic sediments they live in. One of the most mind-bending discoveries, however, came when scientists observed deep-sea isopods, particularly Bathyopterus nibelini, eating sargassum. That's right, floating seaweed from the surface 5,000 to 6,000 meters above. These isopods were seen actively dragging down pieces of sargassum, shredding the fibrous algae with serrated mouthparts. Lab studies revealed they had gut microbes capable of breaking down complex polysaccharides. It was proof that not all food in the Haddle Zone sinks passively. Some of it is actively hunted and processed, and this changes everything. It means the deep ocean isn't just dependent on the occasional whale fall or fish corpse. It has a more dynamic food web, one where life adapts in ways we're only beginning to understand. The Puerto Rico Trench, once considered a geological hazard and a biological void, is revealing itself as a haven of alien-like creatures, each a marvel of evolution. In their shimmering silence and patient movement, these beings remind us that life doesn't just adapt, it thrives in the most impossible places. But what fuels their survival? And what roles do they play in Earth's deepest ecosystems? That's the mystery we'll tackle next. Not all of the trench's secrets lie buried in sediment or crawling along the seafloor. Some shoot upward from the Earth's crust in superheated jets, rewriting what we know about chemistry, energy, and life itself. These are hydrothermal vents, natural chimneys spewing mineral-rich fluids into the abyss. And in 2022, they were discovered for the first time on the slopes of the Puerto Rico Trench. It happened during a series of dives with the deep-sea submersible Alvin, which descended to depths nearing 6,400 meters. The team expected to find rocky slopes, maybe sediment, but what they saw astonished them. Plumes of shimmering fluid rising from jagged mounds, hot, metallic, and alive with microbial life. These were hydrothermal vents, the first confirmed in this sector of the Atlantic. Hydrothermal vents form when seawater seeps into cracks in the oceanic crust, gets heated by underlying magma or hot rock, and then escapes back into the ocean, carrying dissolved minerals. The result? Towering structures called black smokers or white smokers, depending on the minerals expelled, iron sulfide or barium, calcium, and silica, respectively. When this scalding fluid meets the near-freezing seawater, minerals precipitate and fall out of solution, building chimneys up to tens of meters tall. These structures can form rapidly, growing inches per day, and they become the foundation for ecosystems unlike anything on the planet's surface. Here, photosynthesis doesn't exist. There is no light. Instead, life runs on chemosynthesis, a process where bacteria convert chemicals like hydrogen sulfide and methane into energy. These microbes are the primary producers in this alien world, supporting entire communities of organisms. The Puerto Rico trench vents revealed just that. Around the base of these mineral towers, Alvin captured footage of microbial mats, shimmering colonies of extremophile bacteria, feeding off the vent fluids. But there were also signs of larger life, crustaceans, limpets, and perhaps even vent specialist worms. Those samples are still being analyzed. This discovery was groundbreaking. Until now, most known hydrothermal vent systems had been located in the Pacific and Indian Oceans, particularly along the mid-ocean ridges. To find active vents in the Puerto Rico Trench adds a new dimension to its geologic and biological profile. It proves the trench isn't just tectonically active, it's volcanically alive. Geological studies of the area indicate that the heat source may come from deeply buried intrusive rocks, remnants of ancient seafloor spreading centers, or subducted crustal fragments that continue to release energy. The fault systems running through the trench's slopes act as conduits, allowing superheated fluids to escape in concentrated bursts. And the implications go far beyond biology. These hydrothermal systems are often rich in valuable metals like copper, zinc, cobalt, and even gold. In recent years, the concept of deep-sea mining has gained momentum, with commercial interests eyeing vent fields as potential gold mines beneath the waves. The discovery of these vents near Puerto Rico will undoubtedly draw attention, not just from scientists, but from industries with eyes on the deep. But mining these sites isn't without risk. Hydrothermal vent ecosystems are delicate. Their entire food webs can collapse if vents are blocked, disturbed, or harvested. Scientists argue that we've barely begun to understand these systems, and disrupting them now could erase species that have never even been cataloged or named. What's more, these vents may hold clues to one of humanity's oldest questions. How did life begin? Some of the earliest life forms on Earth may have emerged around ancient hydrothermal systems. The combination of heat, minerals, and chemical gradients creates an environment rich in possibilities. Modern research suggests that vents like those found in the Puerto Rico Trench could be analogs to those primordial environments, offering insights into how organic molecules first formed, assembled, and evolved. But perhaps even more exciting is the possibility that similar systems exist on other worlds. Moons like Europa and Enceladus, icy satellites of Jupiter and Saturn, are believed to have subsurface oceans. Observations from space suggest they may even have active hydrothermal systems beneath their frozen shells. The microbes living in Earth's deep-sea vents may mirror what we could one day discover in these alien oceans. That means every new vent discovered here on Earth is a test case for extraterrestrial life. Every bacterium that survives boiling water, every crustacean that feeds without sunlight, it all builds the case that life might be possible elsewhere in the universe. The hydrothermal vents of the Puerto Rico Trench are more than just underwater chimneys. They're living laboratories, portals into Earth's ancient past, and perhaps even clues to our future discoveries among the stars. In the crushing dark, where heat meets cold and chemistry defies logic, life finds a way, not just to exist, but to flourish. But deep below the vents and sediment, something even more alien awaits. Organisms without eyes, without light, that challenge the very limits of biology itself. Beneath the roaring earthquakes and thriving megafauna, deeper even than the hydrothermal vents, there exists an invisible force powering the Puerto Rico Trench: microbes. These microscopic life forms are the real giants of the Haddle Zone, quietly transforming its chemistry, driving its food webs, and pushing the boundaries of biology as we know it. At depths exceeding 8,000 meters, the Haddle environment of the Puerto Rico Trench is defined by conditions so extreme that few thought anything could live there. The pressure crushes steel, the temperature hovers near freezing, and the darkness is complete. Yet it is here in this underworld of extremes that microbial life not only exists, it thrives. In 2022, scientists collected water samples from the trench's deepest point using precision instruments like deep-sea rovers and free-fall landers equipped with CTD profilers and incubation chambers. The samples revealed an astonishing level of microbial diversity, so rich and so different from shallow ocean microbes that researchers called it a genetic gold mine. Single-cell genomic sequencing uncovered new strains of Thalmarchiota, Shrelevin, and two distinct protobacterial lineages. These organisms weren't just surviving, they were evolving unique genetic adaptations never before seen. For example, the Thalmarchiota exhibited genes for glycine cleavage pathways and nitrogen cycling. Shrelevin carried complete glycolytic modules, metabolic systems that are often partial or absent in surface strains. In another sample, Psychromonas-like bacteria carried genes for hydrogen and nitrous oxide oxidation, mechanisms that allow these microbes to convert tiny amounts of energy from chemical reactions into biological fuel. These organisms are powered by molecules invisible to the naked eye. One reason for their success: big genomes. On average, Haddle microbes in the Puerto Rico Trench have genome sizes of about 3.6 megabase pairs, nearly twice the size of their surface cousins. Why? Because life at the bottom demands options. These larger genetic toolkits give microbes the flexibility to handle chemical scarcity, physical pressure, and highly variable organic input. Metagenomic data from over 145 megabases of trench DNA revealed genes for sulfatases, which break down complex polysaccharides, heavy metal detoxification, and advanced nutrient scavenging. There are also abundant signal transduction genes used to sense tiny environmental changes and transporters capable of ferrying rare elements like nickel, molybdenum, and selenium across cell membranes. And these microbes don't just float around passively, they shape the trench. Some consume methane and hydrogen, limiting the release of potent greenhouse gases. Others replenish nitrogen and sulfur through cycles that take years to complete. Many of them digest sinking organic matter, fish, plankton, marine snow, transforming it into usable nutrients for amphipods, holothurians, and isopods higher up the food web. In fact, researchers discovered that microbial respiration in the Puerto Rico Trench matches that of far more productive sunlit regions. Benthic oxygen consumption is surprisingly high, especially in areas where turbidites, underwater landslides, have deposited fresh, carbon-rich sediment. These pulses of organic matter trapped in clay and silt fuel microbial explosions below the surface. Sediment cores taken from over 8,200 meters deep reveal layers of pelagic clay interspersed with turbidites. These layered sediments act like a time capsule, preserving organic compounds that microbes can feed on for decades. And the microbes are picky. They know how to wait. When a new pulse of carbon arrives, their populations explode. What's more, these microbes may hold the key to some of our greatest scientific pursuits. Their enzymes are hyperstable, able to function at pressures over 700 bar and temperatures near zero. Biotechnologists are now studying these adaptations to develop new industrial catalysts, drugs, and bioremediation tools for contaminated environments. Even more tantalizing is their relevance to astrobiology. The genetic and metabolic strategies of Haddle microbes in the Puerto Rico Trench closely resemble the theoretical life forms we expect to find on icy moons like Europa or Enceladus. If life exists elsewhere, it might not look like us. It might look like them. Microbial ecosystems in the trench also raise questions about the age and resilience of life. Could life have originated in environments like this? Could these microbes be remnants of Earth's earliest biochemistry? Their deep isolation, slow growth, and biochemical sophistication suggest they are not just modern oddities, but living fossils. Scientists have even managed to culture new strains from the trench. In 2008, Profundamonas pisophila was isolated from water collected at 6,000 meters. It has since become a model organism for studying high-pressure life. More recently, others have identified microbes capable of oxidizing arsenic, metabolizing hydrocarbons, and surviving complete anoxia. No oxygen at all. Their influence isn't theoretical. These microbes affect everything, from trench chemistry to tsunami debris breakdown, from nutrient cycling to deep ocean carbon storage. They're engineers, regulators, and survivors rolled into a single microscopic package, and they're not alone. The Puerto Rico Trench is a hive of microbial activity, each population tuned to the tiniest changes in chemistry and pressure. They live in biofilms, within sediments, and even inside the guts of trench-dwelling animals. They are, in every sense, the true foundation of deep-sea life. In a place so remote, so hidden, where human presence is fleeting and sunlight never shines, microbes dominate. Silent and unseen, they transform death into energy, pressure into possibility, and darkness into life. The Puerto Rico Trench isn't just a scar in the seafloor. It's a living, breathing microbial machine, and its engines never stop turning.